don't make a political film, but make a film politically. And in that, he means that, that the end, your end doesn't need to be in sight. So it's not about who you will sell this film to or what audience you'll show it to. So it was a bit like this for us. And I say us because there were a lot of people involved in making the film. And I really feel that it's a film made from collaboration. So when we were in the protest, we were shooting because we had cameras and, there were things going on.
Welcome to Locarno Meets, a movie podcast brought to you by UBS from the Locarno Film Festival. Payal Kapadia is an Indian filmmaker who just won the Grand Prix at Cannes for only her second film. What's even more remarkable is that her first film, just a few years ago, took home the Best Documentary Award at the same festival. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So look, congratulations on winning the Grand Prix at Cannes.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Was it a surprise?
Yes, it really was a big surprise. It's a film that we've been working on for many years, and we worked on it till the very last day that we could. So I was literally finishing the DCP and going to the festival. So the state of mind was very different, when you're doing post-production and suddenly you're at the festival and you've been wearing your pajamas for many days and suddenly you have to look a little nice. So I was a bit in a haze. So firstly, it was super nice to be in competition.
Sure.
And then to win the Grand Prix, it was just unbelievable for me.
Am I right in thinking you're the first Indian woman to have been in competition at Cannes?
I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe.
Sorry. I thought I read that. Look, I'm interested because, as I understand it, you were doing a degree in economics before you went to film school.
That's right.
Have you always been a cinephile, or was there a kind of whiz-bang moment of like, no, wait, I need to change my entire life?
When I was in high school, I was watching a lot of films, and I always knew I wanted to either be a painter or do something in film. But there's always this idea that doing film or doing something artistic is not a guarantee to a life where you can, take care of yourself. So I thought that it would be good to get a degree in something to fall back on if all this fails. So which is why I really liked economics as a subject. And I think that studying humanities like sociology and economics helps you in whatever field you take up, especially if it's artistic, because you read a lot, you discuss a lot. So it was helpful to me. And the film school, you have to go after university. It's a post-graduation. So it worked out that way.
And now your education at film school been immortalized in your own work. A Night of Knowing Nothing, I mean, that also won an award at Cannes, Best Documentary in 2021. The French love you, clearly. But I think it's a really fantastic documentary. It's beautiful and scary and moving. It takes you on a real journey. The opening shot is this very beautiful and joyous scene of dancing. If I'm not I think I'm correct in saying in front of Dilse. But it's really, really kind of happy. And then by the end, you've been taken on an incredibly traumatic and upsetting journey. And I wondered if that journey mirrored one that you personally took as a kind of in a journey of political awakening during this process.
Yes, since we are in a film school, and that's nice to be speaking about my film school while being in this film school. I think when I joined film school, I was quite naive and politically not so engaged. But at the film school, I met a lot of my colleagues and students who were much more politically engaged. And when put in the situation that we were, it inevitably led to a lot of heated discussions. And even if you don't agree with each other, that always leads to you questioning yourself. So yes, it was definitely a time where I began to really think about the world that I live in and the society and what was happening around me.
The kind of the moment that instigates student strikes and protest is is putting in a head of the school who is supportive of the BJP and the Hindu nationalists. How much do you think about state involvement in arts?
See, it's a tricky thing because I feel that state involvement in art is essential for art to exist, especially in a country like mine where there is people really don't have the means to make films, and the industry is so big that it's people who are not part of it or have some way to get into it will find it very difficult to be able to make films. So I genuinely believe that there need to be more funding, more opportunities given by the state to be able to make films. But having said that, there needs to be a structure that avoids political, where the ideology gets sort of imposed on the filmmaker, and there should be some kind of, I mean, of course, it's very, it's always going to happen that it can't be this complete separation if the state is involved. But if there is at least an attempt to keep that distance, then I think that the culture in a country can really thrive with opportunities for everybody.
And that attempt isn't being made currently in India, or?
No, we don't really have enough funding for the arts, except in a few states. Like Kerala does give some funding to filmmakers, women filmmakers, and filmmakers of the marginalized communities and castes. So that's a good step, and I hope that more funds come in different states as well.
At what point I assume you were very involved in the protests themselves, and I'm interested to know at what point you thought, okay, I should turn this into a documentary.
So, yeah, it's like Godard says that don't make a film don't make a political film, but make a film politically. And in that, he means that that your end doesn't need to be in sight. So it's not about who you will sell this film to or what audience you'll show it to. So it was a bit like this for us, and I say us because there were a lot of people involved in making the film, and I really feel that it's a film made from collaboration. So when we were in the protest, we were shooting because we had cameras and there were things going on. So we didn't have like a thought, and I don't think any of the people who were shooting there had this thought that it would be a film. Finally, there were little things we were doing for the social media and stuff
almost
like this.
More like journalists.
Kind of, yes. Documenting, And I think it was the same because a lot of our friends were in different universities at the time, later, after our protest. And they were also shooting because you have an urgency to shoot. And so they were really generous, and they said that, we have all this footage and we don't really know what to do. We don't think we're probably going to make something out of it. And by then, me and my partner, we were already thinking about making a film, but we didn't know what we were doing. We had interviewed all our friends for hours and talked about everything about our lives. And it was a film that was so amorphous and changing all the time as times changed. And after that, we left film school, and when you're no longer a student, you look back and you're a different person and you grow. And it took 5 years. So I think we started looking at our own footage as if it were found because, you change and the footage remains the same. So how do you think about it? And then we collected a lot of other footage, and a lot of people gave us footage from the internet also, found footage, viral videos. So it became like an archive of memories. And then we had to sort of navigate a way to see how to put it all together.
There's a really alarming piece of CCTV footage towards the end of the film showing police
that's on the
striking
internet.
protests.
Yeah.
So somebody, presumably at the university, ripped it from the CCTV and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's there. It was circulated on all the news channels. So.
And what was the reaction at home like to the film?
See, in India, we don't really have distribution for non-fiction cinema. So it wasn't as if I was going to get some kind of release. But we did show it in a lot of universities. Since last week only, it was shown at the law school. So it's I'm trying to do it in a way that whoever wants to show it please take the copy from me, and I'm happy that it shows.
I mean, I imagine it would be it's very powerful to middle-aged dudes, but I imagine if you're a student, even more so.
I hope so. But I think that for young people in India, a lot of the material that's in the film, people are familiar with it.
Sure.
Because it's things that they've seen on the social media. So maybe for the Western audiences, they're not. For them, it's very, very new. But in India, in the past 5 years, we have seen a lot of this in our social network culture.
Well, I suppose then, one thing they wouldn't have seen is that, what leads the story is a kind of tragic romance, effectively. And it's announced on screen that you found these letters. Are they actually real letters? I haven't been able to work it out. I didn't think so. That's too
Wow,
perfect.
wouldn't that be so nice but yeah, so I was, like I said, I did all these interviews with my friends. And when you're interviewing your friends, it's nice because, people are more candid and it's a nice feeling also. So people spoke a lot about their relationships and the difficulties and things like this. And everybody was, it was just the start of a career. People were afraid what it would be like to work professionally. So there were a lot of vulnerable things brought up in these discussions I had with my friends. So we tried to make like one character with my co-writer Himanshu Prajapati, who's also my batchmate at film school. So we took a lot of this material and tried to make a character who could engage with all the material. I always like the relationship between found footage and a structure given by the filmmaker, whether it's like Sans Soleil was a film that the Chris Marker film was one that I was very affected by. So we were thinking about this kind of having a voiceover, but not a real one, but still taken from, real interviews in some way.
Sure. I mean, I think it works really well as a way of showing how the political intervenes in the personal.
Yeah.
And how it's not possible to be personal without being political.
I absolutely agree.
I wondered if in the inverse of that, if you think that you will always be political in your work on some level.
See, in that film, it was very clearly political, but I think everything is political. Even making a choice to say I am not political for me is political. So it's very difficult to separate the two. If you are doing some form of art, politics is there. Maybe you're not consciously thinking about it, but it's there.
Do you imagine you'd ever do a non-fiction project again, or basically was this a sort of mistake and now you're going to continue?
So I really enjoy having non-fiction and fiction together. Even in my last film, although it's a very fiction film, we do have elements of non-fiction in it. So what excites me about cinema is having that non-fiction and fiction can sit so comfortably with each other and help in looking at the fiction or the non-fiction with new eyes. And there is some truth that I feel in this juxtaposition, and I enjoy that in films.
Tell me a bit about All We Imagine as Light.
So this film, I was writing simultaneously as I was making the previous film, which I think as independent filmmakers, it's very important to do more than one thing.
Very difficult though, no?
I mean, because what happens is with the first feature, at least for me, I took a lot of time to find finances. So it can be you can feel a bit sad.
Sure.
So at that time, if you can, right now with the world we live in, we can make films with very little also. So to keep engaging in cinema, and I think we're very privileged being filmmakers because it's truly joyful to make films and also really sad because that's how it is. So yeah, we were doing two things simultaneously, and the film is about coming to like women coming to work in Mumbai city, and all the contradictions of the city, and sort of their relationship, how it changes over the course of the film.
And how do you feel about being on the jury here at Locarno? Did you guys sit down at the start and go, okay, right, what's a good film?
No, but we did all discuss what we like to see in films. What is it that each of us wants to see in a film, or what do we look out for? So then we had a sense that everybody had different ways of seeing, and that's good, I think.
So what do you look out for?
So for me, I genuinely feel that a film needs to be truthful in some way, and not and affect me without being manipulative, but emotionally affect me in a way that is not that I don't feel manipulated, but I was allowed to enter this world and allowed to have my emotions. I really enjoy that. If a film is able to do that, it's a very successful film for me. I don't like to be grabbed by the arm and pulled into it, but allowed to take a walk in its experience. That's very difficult to do.
Is that something you try and do as a filmmaker?
Yes.
Is it something you struggle to do as a
Very
filmmaker?
much. Because as filmmakers, at least for me, I'm always kind of torn between I need to give information nobody will understand, but we need to trust audiences. I think people understand, and it's more about beyond understanding how it affects you in some way.
Yeah, there's a funny irony in that as audiences have become more and more sophisticated at understanding all forms of storytelling, visual storytelling, quite a lot of films have become stupider.
Yeah, surprising, no? Like sometimes I watch like really early cinema from this from the USSR, erstwhile Soviet cinema, which is very montage driven, and it's so fundamental, and you completely get it, and there's no dialogue. It's just with the montage and the techniques we still use, but we still overcompensate by explaining everything, while Kuleshov still holds, and we should trust cinema.
I agree. I mean, I often think actually in the 90s, all children used to sit down and spend their day watching short art films that were called music videos.
Yeah.
You know, like people have a high intellectual bar in the cinematic landscape, I think.
Yeah.
At home, how are you becoming a lot more noticed? I mean, you've got 2 Cannes prizes under your belt. Does that register in the cinematic culture?
Yes, a bit. But in India, we have a very self-sustained film industry. And it's not just Bollywood. We have different states have their own film ecosystem. So Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, they have non-Hindi speaking films which are really well received. They're amazing directors. And there is really not all that much a relationship with Western film festivals. So there will be an audience who would be aware, but there would also be a very large audience who, for them, it's just another film. So, yeah, that's how it is.